For 5 years, in the middle of the worst generation Nintendo had had fiscally in years, Nintendo did the unthinkable. For the first time in ever, honestly, they turned to their community for once. I don't blame them. If I fostered a community like Nintendo's, I would want to be as far away from it as possible too. With that said, there was an era where Nintendo did in fact actively interact with fans, an era where Nintendo was far more involved than usual. It was in the 8th generation of gaming where Nintendo had put out the Wii U and 3DS as successors to the wildly popular and iconic Wii and DS. As has been extensively documented before, these consoles were released to initial poor reception and rapidly declining sales numbers. What doesn't get discussed enough is Nintendo's various attempts, some successful and some not, to breathe life back into their community and their games during this time. Through the many events, features, and services they had launched to revive interest in them, one sticks out above all: the introduction of Miiverse. Miiverse is remembered for not only how novel and unique the concept was, but also for how abruptly the service ended, as it was around for a brief 5 years. Such a beloved and widely enjoyed service being discontinued so quickly is bound to raise some suspicion, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We're gonna have to bring it back quite a bit and understand just the kind of place Nintendo had created before we can fully get into the mysterious disappearance in the last 24 hours of Miiverse. Released on November 18, 2012 alongside the Wii U, Miiverse was Nintendo's first attempt at creating a social platform for users to interact with each other. Though their past presence has demonstrated otherwise, Miiverse put Nintendo in the center of their community, keeping users updated and fans engaged. Users could communicate with each other on Miiverse through drawings or text posts. Miiverse essentially functioned as a sort of Twitter for users of the Wii U and 3DS. Though the initial scope of Miiverse was to provide a space where players could discuss games within specific game communities, share art, post screenshots, or ask for guidance from other users, Miiverse was treated far from this. I don't know how Nintendo didn't account for this. I mean, if you give enough kids and teenagers access to a feature like this, you're bound to get some pretty funny and entirely off-topic posts. Posts that Nintendo didn't take too kindly to. The launch of Miiverse highlighted the beginning of an uphill battle between Nintendo moderating the content being posted and literal children for the most part. So it was quite a rocky start, but that didn't deter Nintendo from expanding this network, eventually bringing Miiverse to web browsers in April 2013, and finally to the 3DS later that year. Nintendo clearly had a vision with regards to Miiverse, and were determined to bring it to light. They were committed, and as the service expanded, we entered a sort of golden age for Miiverse. Artists on Miiverse would grow to become sort of celebrities within their respective communities. Everyone chased the high of their posts getting yad. Miiverse was thriving. It was getting included in practically every big Nintendo title. It was featured in Mario Kart 8 with time trial ghosts and highlight sharing. In Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, you could share stages and screenshots. Within the game, there was even a Miiverse stage that would display posts from the community in the background. And lastly, Super Mario Maker. Perhaps most notably and integral to its gameplay, would feature posts from the Super Mario Maker Miiverse community that would be placed throughout levels. These posts would often be encouraging, insightful, or even just funny. Its inclusion in Super Mario Maker was personally my favorite display of Miiverse's capabilities, as it just worked so well for the game with this concept. On top of all of this, throughout a multitude of games, you could collect fun stamps that you could attach to any post for an added flair. Miiverse was really just a game changer. To see something like that again in this day and age would be sort of unheard of in a sense, as it's so different from what we have come to expect from gaming. Miiverse really morphed the definition of a gaming community. But alas, it was a game changer that continued to be a growing war zone. While Miiverse on paper was incredible, over the years it became more and more of a pain in the ass for Nintendo to maintain. Throughout the years, users would complain about constant bans, strict moderation, and post removals, some unjust and some not. Nintendo having to closely moderate a network of this size to maintain their particularly kid-friendly persona in this era led to the employment of massive moderation teams tasked to hand review content posted to Miiverse. In addition to this, users would continue to mistakenly use Miiverse as a chat room of sorts or meme platform. Eventually, it culminated into the dreaded July 2015 redesign of Miiverse, arguably the beginning of the end for this slice of the internet. In an attempt to steer Miiverse back to its roots and keep it in line for what its intended purpose was, Nintendo released an overhaul to Miiverse that would cement its focus on games. From this point onward, Nintendo ceased to treat Miiverse as a social network, opting to treat it as a platform where you could document your gaming journey. This was evident in the removal of the activity feed. In place of the activity feed were 3 categories: drawings, discussion, and play journal. Additionally, a private screenshot album was added where you could store 100 of your favorite moments privately within Miiverse. There was also a daily post limit put in place where users could only make up to 30 posts a day. Interestingly, in Nintendo fashion, they found a way to screw up the redesign. Quite literally, every community had flawlessly moved over to this new system, except New Super Luigi U for a brief period of time. This led to users circumventing and protesting many of the new rules put in place by posting in this community. Nintendo, in an attempt to make sure they will not be bossed around by their fans from this point onward, would put their foot down and ban entire systems of repeat offenders from using their services, but it wouldn't be long until users found another way to rebel. Or troll, honestly, it's a mix of both at this point. Like, you have a group of people who genuinely miss the way Miiverse was pre-redesign, and then you have trolls wanting to post not so savory content. So anyway, what ended up happening was users began tracking moderators and noting times where they were most likely to be least active. Once these times were compiled, that was their time to strike, and post quite honestly whatever they felt like as long as the moderators had their eye off the ball. As Miiverse grew, there was a clear dissonance between what Nintendo wanted Miiverse to be and what users thought the platform should be instead. Ultimately, this brings us to some unfortunate news on January 13th, 2017. With the rollout of the Nintendo Switch upon us, many fans would begin rumors and speculation on whether Miiverse would be brought over to the new system, and if so, how? Nintendo was quite early to announce that Miiverse would in fact not be making it over to the Nintendo Switch, effectively soft launching the discontinuation of this beloved, misunderstood, but often really funny platform. While many scrounged around to find some sort of explanation as to why Nintendo would kill off a service that brought so many users together on their platform, the common consensus was that moderation costs must have been too high, or that maintaining Miiverse as a family-friendly platform was just not possible with the number of users. Or many also pointed to the Wii U's extremely poor sales. Nintendo was radio silent with the reason as to why they might or might not be discontinuing Miiverse. An official announcement later in the year from Nintendo would clear the air for everyone. On August 29th, 2017, Nintendo stated that Miiverse would officially be shutting down on November 7th or 8th, 2017, depending on your time zone. Why? Well, without paraphrasing,
we started the Miiverse service in 2012 along with the launch of the Wii U system because we wanted to provide a space where users could share their feelings about games with each other. Thanks to user support throughout the years, we think we were able to achieve that goal. We decided to end the service at this time because, among other reasons, many users are shifting to other social network services.
If you ask me, I think the untimely death of Satoru Iwata in 2015, may he rest in peace, former president of Nintendo and arguably the biggest advocate for Miiverse, also played a huge role in the eventual phasing out of Miiverse. Under new management, fun and quirky additions such as Miiverse were not made a priority, at least not how it was during Iwata's time. Regardless, that's just my thoughts. Nintendo at this time also announced that you could request to be sent a copy of all your Miiverse data. This would actually be a huge win for archival purposes, as Miiverse archive projects would begin to pop up. As we approach the last 24 hours of Miiverse, we see that Nintendo opened an everybody's message community. Started on October 5th, 2017, a month before the shutdown, this gave fans the opportunity to properly say goodbye to the platform. Miiverse was officially set to shut down on November 8th, 2017 at 1 AM EST. As the date came closer and closer, many fans took to Twitter to reconnect with people from Miiverse, with the hashtag Miiverse memories trending. Many would reminisce on the platform's golden age here. Artists especially would take advantage of this by sharing their art on Twitter to sort of move over their audience. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Users would continue to post on the everybody's message community right until the very end. And then, nothing. Unlike the end of Nintendo Network or Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, there were no users left on post-shutdown. The general sentiment in the hours leading up to the shutdown was quite mournful. Going through footage dating back to the night before the shutdown, it was really a mix of everything Miiverse had come to be. Art, actual posts relating to the community, and inappropriate content. I guess no matter how you slice it, creating something of this size and attracting a community like Nintendo's and the wider internet as a whole was bound to be a losing battle. As short-lived as it was, I am at least glad that I was able to experience Miiverse, though I did not participate much. Miiverse really reinvented what a gaming community could look like. It's something I have yet to see since. Miiverse and just how Nintendo handled the lulls of the 8th generation of gaming was very iconic, for lack of a better term, with the Wii U and 3DS. Though those consoles have experienced a resurgence in popularity mostly due to nostalgia over the past years, you really just had to be there in order to experience the full scope of that era. On a happier note, Nintendo the following day would actually make this mosaic of the many posts from the everybody's message community, and shared it directly on the Miiverse website post-shutdown. I can't lie, this is actually a very heartwarming thing to see Nintendo do. Since the discontinuation of Miiverse, many archival projects and revival projects have sprouted up that I would like to bring light to, starting with the archival project Archiverse, which has hosted a whopping 133 million posts and 17 terabytes total of archived data. As for revival projects, there is Hateno Network's Juxtaposition. Regardless of size, these projects reflect the sheer scale and impact of Miiverse. It shows the lengths that teams of people have gone on to preserve and recreate this silly little misunderstood platform from Nintendo. A final thing to note is how Miiverse had gone on to be so integral to some games to the point where their sequels post Wii U and 3DS era would feature its own kind of one-off Miiverse recreation. Locked to these specific games in the Nintendo Switch era, it was seen in Super Mario Maker 2 as well as Splatoon 2 and 3. With that said, thank you for watching. Please like and especially subscribe because I want to reach at least 50k before I go back to university. If you liked this video, you'll love the one where I dive into the last 24 hours of Nintendo Network. Go to chillysu.net for all my socials. Goodbye.